everyone, welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I'm Samantha Morgan, founder of QuickFlip Media. I've seen a lot of tools come and go, along with every trend you can possibly imagine. There's always going to be a new gadget that comes along with that trend. And most of the time, the gadgets are the ones actually pushing the trends. Think about this. Podcasts. They were once a product to create and sell iPods. Every time one of these gadgets comes online, there's a different reaction. And most of us react by wanting nothing to do with it until we absolutely have to. Gear fear is real, and it comes for all of us. Even those of us who look like cyborgs running around at an event. That's me most of the time. My guest today knows all about that. But instead of letting her fear rule her, she turned her anxiety into a motivator. And let me tell you, it worked. She is thriving. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about her story later. First, we're going to talk about a couple new pieces of gear that could really help you level up your content. If you're a small business owner without a budget for a video producer or a keynote speaker who needs to record presentations, then this is for you. But if you're just a person interested in doing video, don't log off. This is for you too. All right, let's jump in. Last month, we tackled file storage. Nothing is going to stop you faster than having to run out of space on your phone. If you go to record and bam, you see storage full, that's going to kill you. So that's why I teased a little tool that can help you fix that without racking up more monthly fees for added storage space. This little guy right here, enter the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. This little compact camera was designed by DJI, the same folks behind high-end drones that you see. It features built-in stabilization and AI tracking, all the best stuff, and it records directly to a micro SD card that you have to remember to actually put in because I tend to forget to do that. But that means no more clogging up your phone with big video files when you, again, can actually remember to put the card in. You can easily transfer your footage to your computer and use software like DaVinci Resolve for high-quality edits. The cost for this little guy is around $700. There are package deals that include different attachments and microphones and things like that, and that can bring the total closer to $1,000. And that may seem like a big price tag, but when you think about it, the average cost of an iPhone, yes, about the same ballpark, right? So the benefit to this camera extends beyond moving video off your phone. The camera is actually a gimbal, so no more shaky video. You can walk around, talk without getting stuck and sick when you're looking at your video later. That gimbal is actually really helpful also with the AI integration. You can select yourself and the camera will track your movement. Remember when I mentioned keynote speakers? Aha, now you get it. I've seen this used by comedians to record their sets, actors, and even athletes can benefit from tracking their movement. I actually used this recently in Bay St. Louis. I was able to control it from my phone and record smooth, steady content completely on my own, all while walking down the beach. Now, if you're not quite ready for the $700 leap, I get it. I hate to spend money, especially when it comes to a little gadget like this that I may or may not really use. If you are not really ready to invest that much money, maybe you go with this guy. This is the DJI Osmo Mobile 6. It's also a gimbal, but it uses your existing iPhone and offers that same AI tracking feature all through your phone. So this is actually a product I demonstrated during our last in-person QuickFlip workshop. You just select yourself on the screen and then the gimbal follows you around. It's really cool. The best part is these guys are now selling for like $100 or less. I pay more when I got mine, but it's still worth every penny. So I mentioned that I showed this in my workshop. Our next one is being held on September 2nd through the 4th. I limit registration to just 5 people so we can keep the experience personal and focused on your specific needs. Over the course of 3 days, you're going to learn the basic principles of videography. You're going to get to play around with some of this cool gear. And you're most importantly going to start your editing journey, which that's really where all of video lies. This is not your typical online webinar. It's real-time, real-life, hands-on learning. For watching this webinar, I'm actually going to give you a little discount. When you register, type in Gear Fear for a 15% discount. But wait, before you go do that, let me introduce you to Jordan Hefler. Remember I told you about her at the beginning? Her photography is incredible, and I'm so inspired by her work, especially some of the new studio work she's doing. It was crazy to me when she told me that studio lighting used to really intimidate her, like to the point of not doing it at all. But she eventually embraced it, and now she's selling out portrait sessions like crazy. Let's hear let's hear how she made that switch. Jordan, first, let's talk about how you got into photography. Tell me a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. So I went to LSU and didn't realize that you could major in photography. It was a concentration in the fine art department. But I always kind of played around with photography growing up, and in high school, my dad was a hobbyist and my mom was just very creative. And so I was always making stop motion videos and playing around with Photoshop and just taking pictures of my stuffed animals. So it kind of grew into like something bigger when I realized I could major in that. So I studied that at LSU, graduated in 2014, and then kind of was like, now what do I do with this? And so I worked for another photographer in town for a little bit, and then I was kind of just freelancing on my own, worked in graphic design, but over the years kind of fine-tuned what I do to be mainly commercial and editorial work. And so it's always been a hobby, but it turned into a career, and it's just still always something that I'm fine-tuning.
Yeah. When we first met and you told me the story about you basically just in natural light photography when you initially started out and how studio lights intimidated you, I was so surprised because your studio work is what, I wasn't introduced to you until later in your career. So your studio work is what really caught my attention. So what brought you into the studio and how'd you start moving in that direction?
Yeah, so even though I have a degree in photography, it wasn't really something, like lighting wasn't really something that we focused on a whole lot in school, like with the curriculum. We spent probably like half a semester, 1 year in the little studio that we had available to us at the LSU Fine Art Building. So I was aware of lighting, obviously, being a photographer, but we didn't really learn enough for me to feel comfortable with it. I kind of played around like once or twice with it. My dad bought me a really, cheap starter kit of strobes. And when they would work, it was really cool, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like putting a light somewhere and being like, oh, this is what it looks like. Cool.
Right.
And I always loved the aesthetic of what lighting and strobes could get you, but I just didn't feel confident with the technology or the gear. So I kind of like shied away from it. It was nothing that it would never work when I would have a client around. Like the triggers would never fire properly, or I didn't know where I was putting things. So I kind of just like got afraid of it and was like, well, I don't really need this. It's fine. I'll just like use like a window. I'll just like buy a ring light. I'll just do things that are easier. And so I didn't need it for a long time. And the photographer I was working for, Jen Oken, she's a really great local wedding and portrait and family photographer. And she's always kind of been very natural light leaning. And so kind of going under her wing too, I realized, okay, well, you can still have a career doing it. You don't have to use studio light. You don't have to do that kind of work.
Right.
So I still liked that style and aesthetic, but I was so kind of like busy doing everything with ambient and natural light that it just didn't never happen for me. Mm-hmm. Until one day I was like, okay, like I feel like I need to level up. I'm kind of really anxious every time I go to a shoot, hoping that there's a window, hoping that it's not gonna rain, hoping that I can make it look right. And I was spending a lot of time editing too, color correcting every single photo manually, cranking my ISO. And so one day I decided to try to start playing with some like wireless or speed lights, really cheap. It's like some random Chinese brand, super cheap speed lights with batteries. And that kind of started, it created the monster.
Created the gear, got rid of the gear fear.
Yes.
And really set you on that journey.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about the gear that you started to use then. These little, the cheap stuff, the starter gear, right? So
yes.
What was it? Help us understand.
I think it was called Yongnuo.
Okay.
Unclear.
Yeah.
I have some really good friends that mainly do wedding photography, and one of my great friends, Eric Garcia, also shoots Nikon and was like, hey, these are the ones I use. They're like $50 to $60 a flash. They take AA batteries. He's like, it works better than trying to get the Nikon ones to work or whatever. He had already just used this brand. So I was like, sure, send me the link. I'll buy them. And then he came over to my house with my other friend, Taja Harmony, who's also a great local photographer. Yeah. And in my living room, they were kind of showing me how I can use a umbrella with like a speed light and do different things. So I went to my first shoot with that and immediately was like, okay, well, I'm not going to have like 50 batteries on me at all times because each flash took 4 batteries. Even if I bought rechargeable AA batteries, I needed 4 per flash. So if I'm using, 3 lights or 2 lights, I needed to have like, all these extra batteries flying around, and it was really hard to keep track. The recycle time of shooting too wasn't great because they were super cheap. So I would take a picture, I would flash, but then it would take like 20 seconds for it to kind of like recharge to do again. So if I'm like trying to snap how I'm used to, it was not keeping up with me. And the batteries were dying like within 30 minutes. And I'm like, this is not going to work. If I have a full day shoot where I need to do stuff, like this isn't going to work. So that was fun. I think I used them like twice and I was like, okay, moving on.
Right.
Now I'm achieving the aesthetic I like. How can I just spend some more money on some gear that'll last me, that'll work well? And so I started doing some research on YouTube and such to see what was out there.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty common thing for most of us, is to start with the cheapest, easiest piece of gear. And because we don't want to make that big investment into it because we don't know if it's going to work or if we're going to like it or if it's just going to end up being a trash thing. So, I mean, I personally like that approach of just like starting small and figuring out, is this a thing that I want to do? And then if it is, making the investment later. But I know other people who are like, no, spend the money right off top, learn everything that's into it, and go with the quality right off the top. I personally think that easing into it is the better way to go, though.
Yeah, because I mean, so much of my work had been like documentary style, ambient light. Yeah. I mean, I would edit a lot to make things pop and look a certain way, which I realize in hindsight, like could have just been achieved so much easier if I just like had like one light.
Yeah.
But I didn't need lights for the most part. So I didn't want to like invest a bunch of money in something and then realize I don't even like the way this looks. Like I thought that's what I wanted, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And then so playing around with those cheap flashes, like definitely like the bug bit me and I was like, okay, like let me look into this and see what's easier to understand. And so I actually kind of like what you said, it was like a hybrid thing for me. I did start cheap, but I also did start expensive. So right after that, I immediately dove into the ProPhoto brand. I did a lot of research, watched a lot of YouTube videos, and ProPhoto is a brand that we kind of equated to me as like the Apple of flash photography. And so it costs more, but the synergy, like the way things work together, it's very user friendly. It never not works. Like, because my fear was kind of from 10, 15 years prior, using this cheap kit my dad bought me where like the triggers never work and nothing ever worked, and I'd be like setting up in front of a client and wasting all this time and nothing would work, and I wouldn't have an explanation. I'd be like, I don't know, it just doesn't work. And so my fear was like, I don't want to buy something that only works half the time, that has like bad reviews about like the triggers not working or the Bluetooth being sketchy. ProPhoto, it's expensive, but it works. I've really never had any problems, knock on wood. So I kind of dove headfirst into that system, and it costs more. But what I really like about ProPhoto flashes and speed lights and such is that like it's like 1 to 10. Like 1 is dark, 10 is bright. There's no fractions. Fractions are weird, like TTL, whatever flash lingo, which like in photography there is a lot of it's almost like chemistry in a way. There's a lot of like almost like math. That's not my strong point. My strong point is the aesthetic, creative side of things. And so because we're in a world where things are digital and I can look at the photo immediately and be like, oh, that's too bright, I'm gonna turn it down. Oh, that's too, low, I'm gonna turn it up. I liked how simple it was. It was like just a wheel with numbers. 1 is like not bright, 10 is the brightest. So I didn't have to worry about kind of like all these different settings, and that took a lot of the intimidation out of it. And so I was very pleased to spend more money on that because I just liked the system. Because I'm stupid. And it makes it easier.
Those numbers and those things, same thing in the video world. And I think where, photography can sometimes feel like juggling with 3 balls. Video can sometimes feel like juggling with 5, where you have that extra level of like the audio that you're trying to figure out as well, and all these numbers that float around that just intimidate you. And that's, I think, what causes the fear is all these abbreviations. And then when you start like learning what they are, it's like it's all very simple abbreviations that mean exactly what they're supposed to mean. Like it's very simple, but when you're coming into it fresh and you don't know, it's that's the intimidation part, is those numbers. And it makes you think like, oh, well, I was never very good at math. How am I going to do this? You know?
Yes. Well, also too, like being a female too, I do feel like we are mansplained quite a bit.
A little bit.
By men with cameras. I call it man with camera syndrome.
Yeah.
Man with camera has camera. Man with camera wants to talk about camera. Only wants to talk about camera gear. What are you using? Why his is better? Like you should do that. And so I just was always turned off by gear, and still am. Really, I'm not like a very gear head type photographer. I'm very much like, use what you can use. If it was a ring light in your iPhone, like if it looks good, cool. I'm very much like, the work is the product, not like what you have is the product.
Right.
And another photographer once actually told me something, and it was kind of like a compliment, I guess, but he was like, I'm a scientist, you're an artist.
Ooh.
And I was like, kind of hurt, but then I was also like, okay, cool, actually I'll take that, because like I'm not a scientist. I'm using stuff, I'm just like turning it up, turning it down, being like, I'll put it here. Nope, that doesn't look good, I'll put it here. Right. There is like an actual proper way you're supposed to do things with like light, like metering and the different like zones and the f-stops and everything, and like I just have always been intimidated by that, and I don't work that way. And I've kind of, as I've progressed in my career, let that imposter syndrome fall a little bit with that, because I'm just like, at the end of the day, if I'm not doing it right, it still looks fine. I'm still getting hired to do it. I'm still doing it full time. It must be fine. Right. And so anyways, like that was kind of a tangent, but people always want to ask me questions about gear, or like, what should I get? And I'm like, I don't know, get on Google. Like I have what I have, and it works that way, and it's fine. And I'm not keeping tabs on like every new thing that's out for every brand and everything. Like that's not my personality or my interest at all. Right. I'm more interested in like the type of work you can achieve. Yeah. Yeah. So
look, I'm the same. Look, even though I never seem to wear shoes when I record these things, I don't know why that is, but I am the type of person that when I have one pair of tennis shoes at a time, and I wear those tennis shoes until they wear out, and then I get a new pair of tennis shoes. Like I'm one of those people. And so I'm kind of the same way with gear. Like I use my gear pieces and so I don't sample a lot, but I try to make myself do it so I can be exposed to the newest thing, because there's always something new coming out, you know, there's always a new piece.
It is a slippery slope. Once you do sort of get into it, you're like, oh, like if I just had this one more light or this other lens or this other thing, like it would be better. And sometimes it is. And I do think there is a point, like with sports photography, for instance, or music photography, there is a point where like you can't just be like, well, it's not about the gear, it's about your eye. Yes, but like it will make your job easier if you have the long lens on the football field, if you have the really fast prime lens for the dark concert. Like there is a point where if you're doing it professionally and people are relying on it and the quality, there is a point where gear is important, and like investing in new gear is probably a good idea. Totally. But yeah, if it's working and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. You know? Otherwise I always say too, like I was a better photographer when I knew less. Because like the more I learn, the worse I get. Because like the more I learn, the more I buy, the more I have, the more I'm like, oh, I should have brought that lens.
Okay,
or I should bring all this stuff.
I'm going to stop you right now, because I disagree.
Really?
I love the new stuff that you're doing right now in the studio, specifically these light portraits that you're doing. Can you kind of explain what that is and where that came from?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, thank you, by the way. I am tired of doing boring headshots. I get hired to do them a lot, and like, that's fine. I get that that's like a thing that people need, and I'm flattered that I'm being asked to do it, but I don't want to be known for that per se. Right. And I do a lot of very just like standard headshots for companies, and I'm tired of doing it. So I want to do less of it. So I this year was kind of my goal to be like, I want to get back into doing things that are creative, that make me feel excited about photography again, because I got so burnt out, so jaded. And it's a good problem to have. I hate complaining about it, because it's like, at the end of the day, like I have a lot of work. That's great. I'm getting paid to do what I love. That's great. But there's a point where you start hating what you're doing, because you're doing stuff that you don't love. Right. So this year I kind of made it a priority to like be creative again, do more collaborative things, experiment more in the studio, try to do different things with lighting techniques that would create more of a stylistic, edge to my photos that makes me more known for that, versus just like another photo of like a lawyer in front of a white backdrop, which I can do, but anyone can do that. So I actually went to a photography workshop in January for a photographer I've admired forever. His name is Nick Fancher. He's based in Ohio, and he was hosting a creative portrait workshop, and I was like, that's so funny. I'm literally trying to launch something called Creative Portrait Series. Like, I'm going to go to this workshop and I'm going to learn all this stuff. So it was so satisfying too, because I learned stuff, but it was a lot of stuff I already knew, which was great, because I was so intimidated going into it, being like, I'm not going to know anything. Like, what if everything's confusing and difficult and intimidating?
Yeah.
But like, I understood like 75% of what he was doing / was already doing that myself. So it was actually more like validating for me to go, to be like, okay, like I'm on the right track. I'm doing things right. I'm understanding this. But I'm also learning a few different techniques that I didn't know. So his work is very colorful, very experimental and editorial. And he's doing a lot of work like with bands and public figures and things that like I would aspire to do. So I was really excited to go to his workshop. So that kind of lit a fire under my butt for the rest of my work this year, to kind of be like, okay, like let me take this back to Baton Rouge, because no one's really doing that here. Yeah. And if they are, I don't know about it. So I want to, kind of be known for this now. So trying to put the ball more in my court versus like waiting around for client inquiries to come through.
I know. I love it. I think it's great. I love that each time there's a different theme, and I love seeing the pictures trickle out afterwards, because it's like, I know who took that picture,
Yeah, no, my goal is like to get on LinkedIn and be like, I have conquered every person and on LinkedIn has a new portrait by me. Because I don't even like the word headshot. I'm trying to not even use that word, because headshot has a connotation.
It does.
Of that type of photo that I don't want to take. But
that
there are
high school picture.
And there's really nothing wrong with that, but not every industry needs that. Like, think about all the other professionals who need a headshot for something, but that's not the vibe for what they need. Like, think about graphic designers, tattoo artists, comedians. Like, I mean, all these people need headshots, and they probably want it to be a little bit more creative or like showcase their personality more. So it's all honestly more of like a branding portrait with like creative lighting. So like playing with colors, gels, different lighting techniques to make it look just a little different. Yeah.
And it all took that first step of being willing to play with those little crappy lights that he bought to get to that point. Yeah. So you did bring a couple things here today. Can you tell us what they are?
Yeah. So these are both Profoto brand, but I just wanted to show, this is called the A2, and it's like the size of like a Coke can. Okay. It's so small. Yeah. I have 2 of these. It's so great because when I travel, I can put 2 of these in my bag and like really have studio level like lighting with me. This is I believe it's called A10. See, I don't even know gear. But this is like an on-camera flash that I can also use off camera. But it has the same head as this, so they're magnetic, and you can buy different attachments like soft boxes or gels or modifiers. And so this can be used on camera or off. And this is what I was talking about, where it's like just a big number and it goes up to 10 down to 1, and so that's it. So you're like, that's and I use the manual setting and just do it until it looks right. This is a attachment I bought for this called MagMod. It stretches over it, and then it's a silicone magnetic thing, and it's like a miniature softbox. And so I use this for pretty much every event I shoot. It just kind of diffuses the light better and makes it look less like flash, which is an aesthetic for some things, but for a lot, like this just makes it look a little more natural. It fills in the shadows.
None of us look great with a harsh light flashed at us.
Right. But that's like a very specific look, like a paparazzi, like for certain things. But so this is one of the Click soft boxes, and I'm not like sponsored by Profoto or anything. I'm not getting like anything from doing this. I'm just like really
none of us are. None of us are making any money off of this.
Really passionate about how easy this whole system is. So this is a collapsible soft box. I have like 3 of them.
Oh man, I need one of those.
And it just clicks, and then this is magnetic.
Oh wow.
Well, the thing is, here, I'll do it on this. So I can travel, if I could.
Here, let me move this out of your way, so make it easier. Ta-da! Very cool.
So I can travel with like essentially an on-camera flash that can also be taken off and used as an off-camera flash with the trigger, which I did not bring, but the trigger just slides into the hot shoe of the top of your camera. Yeah. So when I'm traveling, it's really great to have this with the mag mod. So if I need to shoot an event or something, inside really quick, I can put this on the camera. I can also take it off the camera. I can use it with the trigger. I can collapse this and slide it into my camera bag. And then as long as I have a light stand, which is harder to travel with, but I've found different smaller ones, you can have a 1 light softbox studio photography setup And then if you bring 2 of these more, I mean, you can do so much with that.
Yeah.
And so in my actual studio, I have bigger versions of these that stay in the studio, but they're still wireless. So
Right.
they're still pretty small. I can bring them on site if I need to. These are just really small and easy to bring. And then also the big kicker of why I spent so much money on all this, rechargeable lithium ion batteries.
Oh, there you go.
So, and they all like are interchangeable with each other.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about like all those double A's floating around and if one is charged or not, and then trying to remember which ones were the charged ones or not. So
That's a big part of what you're paying for when you pay for quality products is, the battery quality is one piece of it, but also the strength, in particular with lighting, the strength of the lights is a big thing. A lot of those cheaper small soft boxes that you'll find online are really only good if you're directly over because they're not very powerful lights. So quick advice tip would be to learn about the strength of those lights and how that's going to impact, that would be a starting point on figuring out which lights are for you.
yeah, and that's where I'm also, once again, I don't know anything about the strength of these lights. Like in Kelvin, I don't know any of that.
Oh,
like,
yeah, for
I just
sure.
do everything. And I mean, I shoot in manual, but like as far as white balance goes, I shoot in auto. It's not as important
Yeah.
with photos as I guess it is with video, because I can always just change that in post, which I'm already doing anyways. But like, I don't know what the strength is of these.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about like the type of light it is. I just know it has a faster
Right.
cycle time. I can recharge it. They're small. They're easy. The whole magnetic system, like you can buy magnetic snoots, magnetic gels, magnetic soft boxes. Like there's all these different things you can buy into. That's kind of like the Apple,
Yeah.
feature of that, like the comparison. But it was expensive, but I have been able to, I've gotten my return on investment like tenfold because of the type of work I can do and the style and the quality of using lights. And it's so not intimidating because I was always like, I don't know where to put it. Well, like just put it somewhere. Take a
Yeah.
picture. If it looks good, cool. Like if it doesn't,
Yeah.
move it around. Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And
Yeah.
so there are different, lighting setups and diagrams and ways to do things. And like the more you get into it, the more you can learn that and start looking at photography and being like, or even like when I watch a movie now, I'm like, okay, like they lit that way. I wonder if they used a grid or if they
Yeah.
used it like that, or did
I
they
do
bounce
that.
something or, so it opens it's like a gateway drug
Yeah.
to
for
get
sure.
in, and then you can learn more
Mm-hmm.
and start like mixing, a continuous light with a strobe or a window with a strobe, or just using one strobe in the very back and then like no lighting in front. Like there's so
Yeah.
many things you can do, but it just takes experimenting, and I feel like I neglected that for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have started sooner.
Yeah, and that's the key is also to understanding and knowing that when you first start out, your photos are not going to look like said professional that you were talking about at the workshop that you went to. When you first started, you couldn't create those same photographs at that time because you were at a different level and a different speed and a different pace.
Right. But something I always tell people too is that for years I would look at photography and be like, oh my gosh, like that photographer's so good. Like I'll never, they just must be really good. And then once I started using lighting, I was like, they're just using lighting.
They're just using
That's all it is. And like, if you have some money,
It's true.
you can just buy it and do it too.
Yeah.
And even like, I would be like watching like the Kardashians or something, and they'll show like the behind the scenes of like, oh, Kim's on a shoot like in Costa Rica. And I look over and the photographer's using this exact light with the
Yeah,
exact soft. And I'm like, okay, I have that.
Yeah.
Like, not that buying the gear makes you that, but
No.
it's just like, once you are in it, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Or I watched like the master class with Anna Leibovitz, and I was always like, how does she do it? And like, she uses one person holds an umbrella over everything, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like that's her lighting. And
Right.
it's like, oh, okay, that's actually not that hard. I could do that.
Yeah. You just got to figure out the system that works for you to
Right.
create the look that you want.
Right. And I mean, it's always changing. It depends, different aesthetics, different lighting.
Yeah.
But that's what's so fun. It kind of made me like photography again because I was so tired. I was just doing the same thing over and over again, and lighting, which is like, it's like so stupid. I'm like, duh, photography, lighting's important. But like, because I was so used to using what was around me, and never had to really think about creating the way I wanted something to look. Once I got into lighting, I was like, oh, it's a whole nother world. And so now it's exciting again. There's more things to learn. There's more things to buy. There's more things to watch. There's
Right.
more, photography to break down and to look at, and what, figure out how they did that. So
Yeah. Ways to grow.
yeah, so it really, it's been about 3.5 years now of me kind of like really going and using lighting, and I just wish I would have like
Done it sooner.
done it sooner.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's basically the summary message for today is Just do it. Just try it. Don't be intimidated by it. Ooh, that kind of rhymes a little bit.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just try it. Don't be intimidated by it. T-shirt. That's it. It's coming soon. All right. But I could sit here and talk to you all day. Let's go ahead and get out of here, close this down, and go maybe shoot something, do something fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. All right. That was really awesome. I really appreciate Jordan for coming and talking to me today. Next month, we're going to be tackling another intimidating topic, AI. We're calling it Scared of AI? Here's what you actually need to know. We're going to show you real examples of how AI can help you script, plan, and even edit content without replacing your creativity or overwhelming your workflow. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this inspired you to get over your fears and embrace something new. Whether that's gear or something else, whatever it is, give it a try, see what happens. See y'all next month.